morning, everyone, and welcome to the UBC Learning Circle, hosted by the Center for Excellence in Indigenous Health. I'm very pleased today to be joined by Gusana Rodux. Dion? Dion.
Yeah.
There we go. We got the last name. She's a representative from the Summer Science Program. She's come in to chat to us a little bit about what the program is and what our youth can gain from participating in a summer camp like that. So before we begin, as always, I would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional, ancestral, unceded, and occupied territories of the Hunkaminam-speaking Musqueam people. I would also like to acknowledge the First Nations Health Authority for generously funding the UBC Learning Circle and all the stuff we do. So real quick, kind of before we get into the introductions, I would like to just start by saying that, the topics we cover can sometimes be sensitive or emotionally triggering, and that goes for all the sessions we have. If that's you for today, please make sure that you're getting some help, getting some care, and you have a support network around you. Whatever that looks like, an elder, friend, family member, counselor, please make sure you're engaging in that. So, brief introductions for our team before I kind of turn the mic over. My name is Cole. I'm from the Chelco First Nation. I'll be facilitating the session today, just kind of acting like a conversation partner for you. Other Learning Circle team members in the room but off camera are Cynthia, our production coordinator, and Kaylin, our program assistant. So with that, I think I can kind of turn the mic over. One more thing. If you have any questions at all about the Summer Science Program, please put them in the chat box and we'd be happy to address them. So why don't you start with an introduction?
Yep. So like Cole said, I'm Gusana Rodux Dion. I'm
so close.
You're so close. No one's going to get it perfectly. Only I will. I'm from Kahnawake, Quebec. It's a Mohawk reserve. I'm here in Vancouver studying environmental science at UBC. And like Cole said, I'm the coordinator for the Summer Science Program here at the Center for Excellence in Indigenous Health.
Cool. So what made you want to work at the Summer Science Program?
In general, I was looking for jobs that were either science-related or related in the Indigenous field, and then I got both.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really cool. But I wasn't necessarily looking for more of an office job,
mm-hmm.
but I found this job on Careers Online, and I thought it was, like, the coolest description, because I've always thought it was a good idea to have a science camp for Indigenous youth, like, especially in my community. I think it would be beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
So I just shot my shot, didn't know if I was qualified, didn't think I was qualified.
And here you are.
But I did it, and here I am. Yeah.
That's cool. So let's take a step back. For those of you that are joining us that maybe haven't checked out the website or don't know what Summer Science is, could you maybe briefly describe it?
Mm-hmm.
I guess you said it's a science camp for Indigenous youth. Can we go a little further?
So it's the basics of the camp is like any other overnight camp. It's a 2-week program. 1 week is for those going into grade 8 and grade 9, and then the other week is for those going into grade 10 and grade 11. So there's recreational activities, art activities, but what the idea of it is to get Indigenous youth involved in science, because a lot of the time Indigenous youth aren't encouraged to go into science fields. Mm. So this is just a way to get them involved, but also get them involved in traditional Indigenous knowledge, so they get programs with elders, and everyone involved is there to support Indigenous youth and Indigenous ways of knowing.
Mm-hmm. So you'd say it's like a holistic blend of both traditional Indigenous knowledges and the sort of experiences and knowledges that our youth can gain at post-secondary education?
Yeah,
Am I kind of like
exactly.
getting that?
Yeah, it's like a preparation camp for post-secondary education and careers.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Neat. Okay. I find it interesting that you said preparation camp. What about summer science do you think prepares youth that are traveling either from rural communities or even from urban communities in a remote but like far away from UBC? Mm-hmm. Basically, those of us that are leaving our communities maybe for the first time. How does summer science kind of prepare them for that post-secondary mm-hmm. transition? It can be difficult.
Yes, I do agree. It is difficult. I shared the same experience.
Because you live that life, right?
Yeah, I've lived in Quebec my whole life, and then suddenly for university I decided to go all the way across the other side of Canada mm-hmm. to BC, and I think having an Indigenous support system is very important for when you're doing that, because no one else can really relate to your experience of being in a small, tight-knit community and then moving to a really big campus, a really big city that's completely different from anything you've known back home. So how the summer science program helps with that is that, well, first they prepare you with an application process, so you get to know a bit more about you're going to basically apply to university kind of in the same manner.
Okay.
You're getting a lot of I think that's like the primary prep step,
Right.
I would say. And then during the camp, there's actually workshops that are a part of the UBC faculties. So, like the health faculties, dentistry, forestry, computer science, and many, many more maybe this year that'll be coming to join along. So, those workshops just give you an introduction into what you can expect those courses to be like in UBC, and also what you can expect in other careers.
Because a lot of the time, the faculty that are involved in teaching those courses at a first year and a second year level are the ones that come on and do these workshops, or at the very least kind of coordinate these workshops, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's nice that the youth that come to the camp, if they're thinking about engineering, right? We have an engineering workshop. If they're thinking about coming in to do engineering, then they can meet not only engineering students that are currently in the program, but also the coordinators that are professors. They meet them ahead of time, they gain those connections, and it's just like one less isolating step.
Yeah,
Do you know
exactly.
what I mean? It's breaking down those barriers.
And you're doing it with a bunch of people. You're not doing it alone, and you have those working at the camp to help facilitate that as well. So I think, in a sense, everyone is learning together, and everyone is getting prepared together, even those who aren't the students attending the camp. Those who are working there get to learn a lot more about how the process goes.
Cool. So you said you weren't alone. How many youth attend the camp each week, roughly?
I think about 30 attend
Give or take,
the camp.
yeah.
Yeah, give or take. It really depends on, the application process and those who decide to end up going at the end of the application process, and like more that we can take on, as that goes.
And how many? Can you talk to me a little bit about the camp staff you mentioned before? How many are there, and kind of what do you guys look for when hiring these camp staff positions?
There's about, I'm trying to count in my head.
Do the number count?
Yeah. I think there's about 9 staff, I would say. So there's counselors, there's the recreation coordinator, food and land coordinators, the program coordinator, the program manager, and in some of those positions there's multiple positions available, and then there's also the volunteers, so that adds to that number.
And the elders, of course.
And the elders, of course, yes.
Yeah.
And then there's also those like me who are working during the school year to get the camp coordinated. And what we look for in those positions are sometimes, most of the time, students who go to UBC, either in undergrad or graduate programs. Those who have an interest in science, those who are knowledgeable of, I don't like saying interacting with Indigenous people, because it kind of sounds like the way that colonizers used to say it, interacting, but understanding how to build relationships with Indigenous people, and Indigenous positive relationships. I think that's really important, because I wouldn't want to hire somebody who is just here for the job, is just here to get paid, and then, or for the volunteer opportunity. I think they need to be someone who wants to learn more about the people who are original from BC.
Yeah, that's great. So we're not just looking at, there's not just any random university student that gets to kind of hold these positions. Are very important. As I would imagine, I think I read in my notes here that summer science is about 30 years old now.
Yeah.
So it must take a great deal of pride and interest in exactly who gets to interact with the youth that come here. I think summer science takes very seriously the notion of taking care of the youth that are sent to the camp.
Oh yeah, for sure.
and we're always looking, or they're always looking to prioritize Indigenous voices on staff and facilitate their development as well, right?
Yeah.
We'll take another step back here, because you mentioned elders. Can you talk to me a little bit about what an elder's role is at the camp,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of how they support both the staff and the youth that attend?
Yeah. So the elders are there not just for the traditional Indigenous learning. So they lead the talking circles, but the elders are also there for any of the youth if they're feeling lonely or if they miss home. The elders can help talk to them, and if they're having any problems at camp with other students, with any of the other employees or volunteers, they can talk to the elders, and elders can help facilitate a conversation to just make the camp experience better. Um, and yeah, like they're really there to help the students and to help everybody learn more about what they can do to make the camp experience more friendly, more positive, just a good old time.
You provide that kind of intergenerational guidance,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and I think also the staff and the volunteers are there to do the same thing.
Yeah.
They're there to help the process, like being away from home and staying on campus for a week, make it so much easier for the students. Because sometimes it's hard for students to be away from home because they've never
Totally
been away from home.
Yeah. I know myself, like casting myself back to when I was young, when I could have attended summer science. I'd never heard of it, unfortunately, so I didn't have the opportunity to attend as a youth. But when I think about the support systems that are set up, that you're saying that are set up by summer science, I think that's kind of one of the big things that really surprises me. When I was grade 10, 11, 12, post-secondary was most certainly not on my mind. I played a lot of sports, and I had no interest in doing university at all. And I think a camp like this could have made a pretty big difference in the trajectory of my life, just in terms of showing me that there was a place in post-secondary in an academic setting that I could exist, that was made for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I think that, and this is just me, like maybe assuming a little bit too much here, but or projecting myself, but when I was young, I just felt like there wasn't really a place for me in post-secondary.
I totally
like post-secondary
agree, yeah.
was like for really smart, affluent kids. That like university was for really smart, affluent kids, not for people like me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't speak about it in a disparaging way, because I love my family, I respect what they do, and that's where I come from, and I'm proud of that. But I think summer science does a really great job of setting up, or sounds like they do a really great job of setting up a support network to allow young people to experience this campus and see themselves represented in the ivory towers of someplace like UBC. Would you agree?
I agree. I think it's hard too, because when you get to UBC, if you're coming alone as an Indigenous person, like it's, unless you're very much involved with the campus, it's hard to meet other Indigenous students and other Indigenous people. So that's why I think working at an Indigenous institution within the institution really helped me feel grounded. So coming to work every day is like great for me, because I feel like I'm included in something that is here to support me. And it feels really good. And I think that's what the students get out of summer science program as well, is that they feel like they have people to talk to once they get into university, and they have a community now that they've built.
Really already built up ahead of time. Yeah. Where do the students stay while they're here?
They stay in residence.
Residence.
So I think there's 2 people per room, or I think it might be a group room. I really can't remember. This is very difficult. There's a lot that my job entails, so it's really hard to remember all the details, but they get the opportunity to, I know that they get the opportunity to have friends with them while they stay. They don't have to stay in rooms alone. Yeah.
Basically, they stay in first-year residency.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'd be like exactly the same experience that they're going to take, or they're going to have when they go to stay at university for the first time when they move there.
Yeah.
They just get to do it ahead of time.
Yeah,
right?
that's also a part of the preparation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like part of, post-secondary preparation is like entwined into the fabric of summer science and almost everything that they do, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool. And where do a lot of the workshops, where does a lot of the food get served? Like, where on campus does summer science kind of locate themselves?
That would be in the Longhouse. Yeah, down the way.
Down the way.
The way.
What's the Longhouse? To somebody that doesn't know anything about UBC, what's the Longhouse?
The Longhouse is a place where the Indigenous people of UBC get to gather and hold events, and it's it's a safe place for Indigenous people, really. But for the summer science camp, the summer science program, it's a place where a lot of the activities take place. The food is served. I guess meetings for the staff happen. Right. It's like a general meeting point where the students and the staff are going to go every single day.
Cool. So if they wanted to go to UBC, being familiar with the Longhouse, being familiar with the people around the Longhouse is probably a big part of feeling like safe and accepted in that community.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. Yeah.
That's very cool. So I want to shift gears a little bit and chat about kind of what sort of things that the youth get to do, like specifically. Can you shed some light on any fun workshops that are coming up this year? Or are you not allowed to tell me that?
I'm actually not sure of what I am and I'm not allowed to tell you.
Okay.
But I do know that the workshops haven't been finalized yet. But so far, like last year, there was forestry workshops, dentistry workshops. I think there was the mathematics department was involved.
Cool.
Computer science was involved. I think that was a new one that was just added last year. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I personally, I'm in environmental science program. I would really love to see an environmental science workshop included. That would be really cool, really fun, and really, I think, relevant to the times today. And I think it would be cool to have the environmental science workshop involved in an Indigenous setting so that both the environmental scientists can learn more about how Indigenous people are constantly involved.
Yeah, I think that's another good point as well in terms of workshop selection for summer science. I think as Indigenous people, and again, this could just be me projecting my own stuff here, but I think when I first considered coming to university, a big part of it was that I wanted to gain some kind of skill or some kind of knowledge that I could then contribute back to my community.
Yeah.
So I think summer science, in a way, plays a key role in doing that and showing youth all the different cool things that are on campus that they could learn, that they could do, that they could be passionate about, and could make a big difference for them, for their family and for their communities back home. Whether that be computer science and running the band website, or environmental science and having a big impact in allowing Indigenous people to have the sovereignty of their own lands and the stewardship of their own lands back in their control, right? It's really cool. So, I don't mean to be a bit of a downer, but it sounds like a lot of book stuff. Do the youth do anything fun while they're here?
Oh, yes, they do.
What do they do that's fun?
There are multiple different field trips that happen. I'm not aware of all of them, but I do know a really important one is the Vancouver Aquarium. So they get to go there for a day, and just kind of get out of the campus because a lot happens within the campus. Yeah. So they get to get outside of it and
see
Vancouver, hang out. And then there's also, they get to do sports. They get to play, I think last year there was a lot of volleyball, I guess basketball, anything that the facilitators and the employees want to help the kids do. And then if kids aren't into sports or would rather not do that day, there's also other recreational things they can do, like art. I know last year there was a D&D.
Oh, there was a Dungeons and Dragons campaign.
Yes, a Dungeons and Dragons game. So people get to participate in a bunch of different activities that aren't just science related, because sometimes doing science all the time, I know as a science student, is boring, and
you just, it's not really reflective of real life.
Exactly, you're doing so much more than science anyways at university.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have your electives and stuff. So I think that part of the summer science program reflects what university is like as well. Is that you're not just doing the courses in your program; you're doing a lot more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to recognize too that like the youth that come to summer science, that it's a big deal
Mm-hmm.
to fly to some of the students. I'm sure that they fly in or they get in by train or trains, planes, and automobiles.
Exactly.
However they get here, it's a big change. And then they're asked to sit in to stay in a dorm and to attend all these different workshops, and so I think it's important for them to have that downtime, just kind of be themselves and socialize and get build connections.
Yeah. And every day is a non-stop day, so you're continuously
Yeah.
doing activities for the whole week, all day, and it's just nice to, you either have time to relax a little bit, like if sports helps you relax, maybe you're more of a science person, so that helps you feel grounded. So there's a bunch of things that just help you feel grounded.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like the elders are around all the time as well for those students that would like to just kind of hang out.
Hang out.
Yeah.
That's what summer science is. Hang out.
Hanging out.
Yeah.
I think it's cool as well. It's something that isn't like explicit about summer science, but you think about it, right? For those of us that are really into science at a younger age, or into school, writing, whatever it is you're into, I think you'll find a lot of like-minded individuals in summer science because that's who comes to summer science, right?
But even those who might not be too into science yet, they can go to this camp and find that there's so much more. Science isn't just one big field of science. It's like spread out into multiple different categories, multiple different faculties, and they can find, if they think they want to do science in the future, which faculty is right for them. Because dentistry is so different than forestry, you know? They're two completely different fields. But sometimes when students think about science, they just think of that one word, science.
Yeah.
Really
especially,
difficult.
I would imagine the younger group.
Oh,
too,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You, like, for me, example, I only realized that you could go into multiple different fields in science when I went into college. Like, in high school, they don't really teach you that because you're constantly learning. Well, in my high school, you were just learning science. It wasn't really split up into physics or chemistry or anything like that.
Cool. Very cool.
I have a question for you, actually. When did you realize that you were into science? Like, you wanted to do science field?
I think I had a secret love for it very, very young. Yeah. Like as early as I can remember, I was really interested in the way that the human body worked. And I didn't really know that it was a science at the time. So I don't know if you can call it that, but I was really fascinated by that sort of stuff. And I was naturally a very curious kid. But as I'm sure, same story as a lot of us, I felt kind of undersupported in secondary school and before that, elementary school, particularly as a male. It's kind of an experience that a lot of us have, is you get pushed towards doing certain things, and I'm sure all the young men that are watching this can empathize with this. I was told many times by like counselors and stuff that like I should do carpentry or that I should do electrical because it's easier for. And I'm not meant to this to bash anyone that works in the secondary education system. I can appreciate that it's a really difficult field, the lack of support for those staff that are working there, but young men in particular tend to be pushed towards certain types of careers, and those are not often reflected in post-secondary.
Okay.
So like as when I was younger, I was a bit of an athlete. So for that, I was just kind of, I was told to take earth science, and I was told to take, menial level mathematics, and kind of just like graduate and get out of here. Do you know what I mean? And go do trades or do whatever it is that you were going to do. And I did do that. And then as soon as I graduated and got out in the real world, I was like, wow, I have a lot of interests. So then I had to go back to college and back to like doing a whole bunch of upgrading, and then I had to transfer over. Like it was a whole thing to get a science degree at UBC. It took me a long time. It was something I was really passionate about doing, but it was something I was really passionate about doing. So I pursued it. I think if I had been able to like be at summer science and have a group of people that not only that I could connect with, but that like believed I could do something like this, I think that would have made a big difference in my life and shaved off like 3 or 4 years of college prep.
Yeah.
Or, I can't even call it college prep because it was adult basic education was my degree on the island. So, yeah.
I think that's really interesting that you say you were more interested in anatomy, whereas I've always been more interested in environment or biology, like plant biology or animal biology. And that just goes to show that if you're going into summer science, if you're a student or if your child is going into summer science and wants to apply, know that it's not just for one field, not just for one like mind process, It's for everyone. Maybe you're more into art, but you still want to check out the science aspect.
Totally.
It's like open for everyone.
I think in that regard too, if I remember correctly, summer science does still have like a career fair where they try to bring in alternative.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah,
okay, there we go.
That's also a cool thing because as I said, it's not just for post-secondary learning experiences. It's for career learning experiences. So you not only get to know what it's like to go understand what going to classes and doing homework and exams and such. You get to learn about the actual fields and the actual people who work in forestry or dentistry or the medical field, what they do and what you can expect from that. So I think it gives you also a more clear path of what you can see, not just for your more immediate future, but for your long-term future as a science student.
And there are sometimes like alternative fields that are represented at these career fairs that can't or weren't able to be scheduled for a workshop. As well. I volunteered at Summer Science a couple years ago, and I remember there was a creative writing person that came to the career fair for a few students that weren't really interested in science but wanted to experience what university is like from an arts side. And I think, and I'm sure that you would agree, Summer Science is more just about supporting students in getting into post-secondary and doing whatever it is that they want to do.
Yeah, because even you could be someone who's super interested in science and then go to summer science program, go to these workshops, go to the career fair, and realize maybe I'm kind of an art person. Maybe I'd rather do drama or, I don't know.
Political science.
Political science. Oh, political science is so much fun. I've never done a class, but all of my friends are in it. It's so much fun. It seems like a good time. See, there's so many opportunities. And then you can also learn that when you're in university, they get the opportunity to do your science courses, and then you get to do your electives, which can be political science courses or philosophy courses or psychology.
Whatever it is that floats your boat.
Yeah.
That's cool. So it seems like the students or the youth have a lot of opportunities to interface with, say, resources on campus, kind of broadly, and with each other. How do you guys close out the week? How does that, is there a special event or something? Could you walk us through that last day? Because it must be an emotional day.
Oh, yeah. So the last day is the graduation day. You're not really graduating with a degree or anything, but it's a nice way to say goodbye to the students and have everyone come together. You're not doing anything too busy. You're celebrating the week that you just did, all the learning, all the connections you've made, and all the connections you're going to make when you go into post-secondary or career. So it's just a way to say goodbye to the students and for the students to say goodbye to all their friends and just a good sending off.
Are they allowed to bring their family to that event, or is it just students and staff?
No, the families are allowed to come. Yeah, I think it's also for the families to see and learn about what the kids have been doing during the week.
Very cool.
And so that also the parents can come along and take their kids back.
Yeah. I mean, eventually they gotta go.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's really cool. I think that one other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is logistics, I suppose. Or let's change gears a little bit to logistics. How like let's say that I live up in like Quesnel or something, right? And my kid really wants to go, or my nephew really wants to go, or my niece really wants to go. Which in my case, I have 7 nieces and nephews, so that's actually a very plausible thing.
Yeah.
How would I get them to summer science?
Hmm.
Because Quesnel is.
See, yeah, I don't know where Quesnel is.
Okay,
I'm not
it's
from
pretty
here.
far. Oh, right, yeah, Quebec, right. Let's just say it's far away to the north.
Okay. Well, my job going forward, now that the application process is open for the students, by the way, applications are open, I'm here to answer any questions that anybody has, and along with my supervisor, Cole, is actually here to help me. Cynthia is here to help me, and a bunch of people at the center. I can actually answer your questions about traveling, about bursaries, anything else about admissions, like what to include in your application, anything. So I'm completely open to any questions that anybody has. So for Quesnel, it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Do you take a plane? I don't know how.
You could take a plane.
You could take a plane. And if you do take a plane, or I don't know, train. I don't know
Let's just say plane.
Any other way to get there. Yeah. So if you come by plane, and you're worried, if you're a parent and your child is traveling alone, maybe, and you're worried that they won't be able to get there, to the campus by themselves, we can totally find a way for employees and staff to go to the airport and pick up your child, pick up the students.
I think it's pretty normal
yeah.
operating procedure for us.
I think
right?
even if you're a parent flying with your child, and you just want to see your child off, we can also pick you up and your child, bring them to the campus, talk more about what's going to be going on, make your worries and fears go away, because it is kind of stressful, or very stressful, to leave your kid at a camp far away for a week.
Totally.
And you may not, your kid may or may not be able to communicate with you during the whole day. So we want all the parents to feel safe, the kids to feel safe, and everyone to feel comfort that we're here to take care of everything. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think generally for traveling students, if you're coming in by plane or by train or by bus or by boat or anything, summer science it sounds like summer science is going to be right there at the terminal or at the dock, wherever it is, to pick you up. So there's no point outside of the actual physical plane being in the air. There's no point where the student is or the youth is left alone or unattended.
Not a point. Once they land, we're going to be there.
Yeah. Cool. So I want to ask you a question now, a personal question. What do you think is the coolest part about summer science, if you could put yourself back into a youth, into that age, and if you were going to attend summer science, what do you think would be the big selling point?
Oh man, I've changed a lot since I was a kid.
I could imagine.
I think one of the coolest parts for me is meeting people from all over, not only all over Canada, right? I understand that people came from America at one point. Yeah. All over North America, you meet students and students from everywhere, and then the staff that are UBC students, UBC employees. I think that's the coolest part, is just meeting everyone, figuring out where they're from, connecting on that level, or contrasting, seeing how people do things differently in their communities. That is so cool to me. You don't usually, when I stay home in Quebec, I don't get that chance to meet different people unless I go into Montreal, which is a super diverse city. But even here, you don't really get that chance. Just in Vancouver itself, there's just so many people, and it's a really big place, and it's kind of scary to talk to people sometimes. I'm always scared to talk to people. But being a student and having people who are students that are like-minded in the summer science program, but then also from different cultures and different communities, That is way cool.
Mm-hmm.
That is too cool.
Very nice.
And also, as I've been saying a lot, is just figuring out a path. And even, like, once you figure out that path at the end of your summer science week, once you go to a post-secondary education or career, that might change. And it's just a really cool experience to have in your memories, in your handbook.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some precedent, only because I know them as a personal friend, I know there's some precedent of people that have attended summer science, decided to go to UBC, went to UBC, and now work at summer science as well, like all as an Indigenous kind of youth. So there's a nice like trajectory for people that are interested and passionate about giving back to their kind of wider Indigenous community. There's always that possibility, and we want to make sure, or Summer Science wants to make sure that everybody's aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Mm-hmm. So we're just going to take a few minutes and see if there's any last minute questions. I have one or two other like kind of nitty gritty questions that I wanted to ask you. And while I'm doing so, please feel free to populate the chat box, or you can private message me a question if you have any, and we will get right down to it. So actually, one of the questions that came in was something that I was going to ask anyway, was is there a cost associated with the camp? Mm-hmm. If so, how much is it? And are there any like support systems available for that process?
Yes, there is a cost to the camp. There's only one fee, and that's $200. That includes the accommodations, which is the sleeping rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Words.
Yeah. They have rooms,
food,
not pods. Yeah.
Having activities in the Longhouse. That's the workshops, the other activities, the Vancouver Aquarium. So that's everything. $200, one payment. You're good. If you need, we offer bursaries that covers the entire $200. And we offer as many as we can because we want to support everybody. We don't want to have anyone left out because financially they aren't able to do it. Mm-hmm. So we just want everyone to know that there is a way to get into summer science program, and that your financial situation will not prevent you from getting in.
And the application process for an individual that's applying, you said it's kind of like applying to post-secondary. Mm-hmm. But when you apply to post-secondary, you have to like attach your grades. You have to have a letter of reference and stuff. Is that still the same with summer science? And if so, what if you kind of don't have the best grades in high school right now? What does that look like for you?
That is okay. We want to... So the application process for summer science program is really long. We want to know everything about you. But it's so that we get to know you, and we're not just basing it on your grades and your references. Mm-hmm. Because although that is important, because we want to see that you're doing well in school or how you're doing in school, mm-hmm. we want to know so much more about you, like why you're interested in summer science, what you're interested in school. Even a part of the application, there's the application for the bursaries, and that's just also getting to know you more. Mm-hmm. Like we ask questions, you answer them as best as you can. And yeah, so to answer your question, grades and references, we want them, mm-hmm. but the application isn't entirely dependent on them at all. I think that's kind of one of the differences between post-secondary education and the camp, is that I don't want to blast post-secondary education, but we want everybody. Mm-hmm. And sometimes in institutions, it's really dependent on your grades, mm-hmm. and how you're doing. And really, the summer science program is here to help you with your grades, too. I know a story of a student who wasn't doing so well in math, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And there were employees in the summer science program that offered resources for that person to get better grades so that they could go on into grade 8 or grade 9 or whatever. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
that person did do that.
And they did do that.
Cool.
And they made it.
Very cool.
So I think one of the only
good for them.
Reason why we have grades is to see that you're getting into the grades that are required for the summer science program. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, like, we're not judging you for your grades at all.
Totally.
We want cool people. Cool dudes. Cool dudettes. Mm-hmm. Cool others.
And I think like also that we recognize that grades like aren't, they're a very transient thing, particularly in high school, and that high school and middle school or whatever your school district is structured as. And really we want to, if that's the case, like if you find or if you know the youth that you're thinking of, or if it's you that is struggling a little bit in school, what we want most of all is, in that case, summer science can just serve as an inspirational point for you to come and see what it's like and maybe get inspired and get passionate about being in an institution, at which point the conversation can change and be like, okay, so this is where you are, but this is where you can be with a little bit of help. And in terms of your grades, this is what you can achieve, and that you have like a support system that believes in you and continues to do so.
That's the thing that really blows my mind about summer science is that literally we are there with you every step of the way, from the time you're applying or even thinking about applying to the time you get here till the time you leave. Like we want everyone to feel like they were welcome here, because they are. Every single person.
Cool. So then my last, or this one's a couple part question. I am and was and still am a really picky eater.
Okay.
So I just wanted to know, like how does food work at summer science? Who makes it? Where does it come from? All that sort of stuff. And what if I have dietary restrictions? Either because I'm a picky eater, or if I have a genuine dietary restriction, like if I have a gluten intolerance or something like that. Can you walk me through that?
Yes. So on the application, there's actually a little section that asks you what your dietary restrictions are, and if you're allergic to anything, anybody. Yeah.
Or anybody.
So that part is covered, and we'll take that into account and make sure that we serve you your vegan food, your nut-free food, anything. Pescatarian, all of it.
Whatever it is.
But if you're a picky eater, that's actually a good question, because I think you can also put that on your dietary preferences, because there are intolerances, people just can't eat certain foods. But during the camp, I'm not sure if this is true, so you might have to help me with this, but I heard that, I think it was last year or something, if someone didn't like food and they just brought it up during camp, like it wasn't on their application, the staff would go out and buy other foods to accommodate that person. That's true?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, again, like literally, we're here for you guys. We want you to be comfortable at the camp. And any food you want to eat, we'll try to get it for you.
I think like the big piece there is like the food, even though summer science is feeding like 30 to 50 youth every single day, a couple times a day. That's a big job, but it's not like an industrialized process. It's not like the food comes in like a plastic wrapper and there's that there's no like room for people to not want to eat this or not want to eat that or want to eat more of that, because it's all home cooked food.
Exactly.
Right?
The staff cooks the food. Everyone helps serve the food. And I believe we tell them what usually is going to be the meal beforehand, so that they get a chance to tell us, like, no, I hate shepherd's pie, it's the worst, please give me other foods, or I don't eat vegetables, anything. Anything, yeah. Because, I mean, that's a...
Well, not the veggies thing.
Not the veggie thing?
They have to eat a veggie.
You must eat a veggie. That's on the application. We need you to eat one veggie per day.
One singular celery stalk is fine.
But that's the thing, because, I mean, I haven't been a kid in so long, but I know that I had things that I didn't want to eat. It wasn't necessarily that I was allergic to the foods, but it would really ruin an experience if I had to eat a food that I didn't want to. And I think everybody, even adults have that to this day. Like, people are picky eaters. And also culturally, if you're not used to the foods, and you can only really stomach certain foods, like, we want your dietary options to be respected.
Cool. Very cool. So then a little bit before we go, we talked around elders' roles and kind of talking circles. Are there any other kind of cultural knowledge exchange opportunities that happen at the camp? And if so, could you provide an example of like a cool activity that the youth get to do with the elders?
Honestly, I'm very not sure about that.
Okay.
There's some aspects about the program that need to be a little more cemented in here.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Are you able to answer?
Yes, yeah. So the elders aren't just like a token piece of the camp, and they're certainly not just somebody that shows up at 7.
Mm-hmm.
The elders stay with the students at all times. They stay literally in the dorms with the students, so there's always a support network there. There's always a granny or grandpa around to help students out. We prioritize traditional knowledges because we want to make sure that they're represented equally. In the same way that we want, moving forward, we want to see it represented in a post-secondary setting as well, right? Mm-hmm. Our knowledge bases, our knowledge is just as valuable as Western education, or Western knowledge bases. So I know last year Elder Jerry did a medicine pouch making workshop, and I believe they built a sweat lodge as well in the back, which is pretty cool.
Weren't there like beading workshops too?
There
stuff
are
like
also
that,
beading workshops and singing and Métis jigging, I believe, was the one we did last year.
Yes. So it's not just a component of the camp; it's quite embedded in the values of the camp.
Yeah, it's everywhere all the time. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure that our knowledges are being respected and honored, and we think that the best way to do that is to model it ourselves. Very, very cool.
That's also a thing that when you're working at summer, if anyone's watching this and wants to apply for a position with summer science or volunteer at summer science, you get so much support from the staff. Like, everyone is here to help you as best as they can. Mm-hmm. It's really amazing.
Yeah. And I think that kind of is a piece of the summer science ethos, I'll say, of making sure that our Indigenous youth, not only that attend the camp, but also that work the camp and that volunteer at the camp and that run the camp, like that manage it, that we try to create like a bubble, like a a safe space for those people to engage in and work in and grow in. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool. So I'll give you guys a couple more minutes to populate the chat box if you have any specific questions. We'll also have Gus and Ododux's contact information posted after this with the YouTube video. So if you have a question that you think is a little bit more appropriate for just Gus and Ododux, which I can appreciate, then you can feel free to email her. We'll also have links to the application page and to a fun little summer science promo video and stuff that you can take a look at if you want a little bit more information. But I want to take this opportunity to chat a little bit about some Learning Circle workshops that are moving forward. So for the rest of February, we should be good. We want everybody to enjoy your Valentine's Day and enjoy your... It's a leap year this year.
I think so, yeah.
There's only 29 days in February, so please enjoy the rest of them, and we'll see you guys in March. We have a jam-packed March. We'll have sessions on healthy food. We're doing a session with Jerry Caston about spring harvest. Denise Finley's going to come back twice to talk to us about Indigenous healing rituals and the like. We'll also have a session that's highlighting some rehab support programs that are happening in the North. Very, very cool stuff. And additionally, we're going to welcome Harley Eagle back to talk to us more about cultural safety and the evolving nature of that conversation in both a workplace and a healthcare setting. So with that, I'm going to check one more time. So with that, I think we're good. Gus and Odox, do you have anything else that you wanted to say? Anything else you wanted to add? Do you want to say hi to your mom? She might see this YouTube video.
Hi, Mom. No, I think it's funny. I didn't tell anybody that I was doing this because I was too stressed. And I was like, I think I'll let them watch it once it's edited.
Right.
And see what they think. Because I was like, if I mess up royally, it's not going to be fun. Yeah. But no, I just want to say thank you for watching and thank everyone here for letting me be on here. I was really nervous, but I mean, I'm with the people I work with every day anyways. You're super cool.
Cool. Awesome. So until March, I guess, take care, and we'll see you then. Bye-bye.